Hey guys, I'm back with 10 more JRPGs that I really wanted to like. I thought for sure I will become a big fan of these, but nope, couldn't get into them, and I seriously tried. So let's begin. Number 10, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. This game gets a lot of crap, and still does after over 30 years of its release. Known as Final Fantasy USA, it was practically a joke from Squaresoft to mock the players in the States, saying the series was too hard for them. So they made an easy, friendly, and charming RPG for them. Ironically, instead of being easy, it turned out to be a very unbalanced game for sure, mostly easy. However, I don't think the game is as bad as they make it out to be, but I, like many others, just don't care for it. I don't hate it or anything, it's just okay at best. Fantastic soundtrack, decent graphics and good pacing, but you lack interesting allies, balance, challenge, and a compelling plot. It's one of the most generic stories and casts of characters I've seen in a video game. So yeah, it did disappoint. I really wanted to like it because I love the music and I thought the first couple of hours were decent. I wanted to be that one guy who defends it on the internet, but nope, this game is meh and I don't think I can truly recommend it. Number 9, Phantom Brave. This game was originally released on PS2, then it got an enhanced port on the PSP, then one on the Wii, and finally on the Nintendo Switch and Steam. Believe it or not, I've played every single version of it except the Steam one. Why? Well, because I really wanted to like it. I thought for sure there had to be at least one damn version of it that I will finally get into, but it took me years to realize that I probably never will. It also took the Switch version to notice how problematic the game was. It's supposed to be a remaster, but the sprites look like a donkey's ass! Still, I could have appreciated the game had it not been for the battle mechanics. All versions are the same in terms of that, so I should have known from the beginning I wasn't going to like it. But I'm a fan of Nipponichi Software, I like their ideas, their humor, their character design. This game's story is pretty interesting about a little girl with the ability to summon phantom warriors in battle, kinda like a comedic version of Valkyrie Profile, I thought. But the fact that she has to use a specific object in the battlefield to summon them, and the fact that they only last for a few number of turns and then they're gone for the rest of the mission, that ruined everything for me. A sequel was announced recently, I'm not sure I'll care about it. Number 8, Crosscode. This isn't a JRPG, but I decided to include it because I haven't covered it in such a long time. It's a popular indie action RPG from German studio Radical Fish Games, and it was a commercial success, believe it or not. It also looked beautiful, with gorgeous pixel art, excellent music, fun combat, and tons of personality. I didn't set my expectations bar too high though, because back then when I played it, I wasn't a big indie RPGs fan like I am nowadays, but man, I had a good feeling about it, so I bought it sealed a few years ago and even live streamed the first 2 hours of it, only to eventually rage quit on it. Everything, and I mean everything in this game is fantastic except for one thing, the puzzles. And I don't mean the type of puzzles, I don't mean their difficulty, I don't mean their annoying nature. Tons of JRPGs have puzzles, the hard and frustrating type, and some of those are amongst my favorites ever. The problem with this game is the incredible, absurd, and imbecilic amount of puzzles. There's way too many of them per stage. About 90% of every damn dungeon is nothing but puzzles. I thought this was an action RPG, but no, it's a puzzle RPG more than anything. One after another, man. But I really wanted to like it because, as stated before, everything else was bonkers, a blast. I loved the battle mechanics, the controls, and even the grinding. So naturally, I wanted more of that, but instead, They threw 10,000 puzzles at me, some of them easy, some of them hard, others straight up ridiculous. And trust me, I made it far, but the amount just killed this game for me. Number 7. Arc the Lad, End of Darkness. I have a story I don't think I've ever told about this game. Yes, it's bad, really bad, one of the worst JRPGs on the PS2. I'm a big fan of Arc the Lad, and when I got my PS2, I chased after this game for years. I never found it anywhere, not even pirated, believe it or not. I should have just downloaded it and burned it into a CD, that way I would have saved me and my brother the embarrassment of this turd. I knew it was an action RPG, not a strategy one like its predecessors, but I still wanted to give it a chance. So one day, my brother and I went to a flea market. It was my birthday. He said, pick any game you want as a present. It is extremely rare to see my brother giving me the choice to pick my present. And out of all the games available, out of all the great JRPGs I could have picked, I had to go with this putrid abomination, because I really wanted to play it. And when I did and realized it was bad, I kept playing it because I really wanted to like it. Horrible protagonist, bad controls, boring exploration, lame combat, repetitive gameplay, forgettable music, mediocre graphics, quest-driven. It was a lame-ass spin-off, alright. I don't think I've ever regretted picking a birthday present in my entire life. A birthday present! A gift! A gift! A gift! Number 6, Phantasy Star Online Episode 3. This game... Let's move on. Okay, if you really want to know, I bought it used for like $15 many years ago because I saw gameplay footage of it and it was a GameCube exclusive. I felt its grid-based combat will be cool since I'm a big fan of tactical RPGs. I also thought the character design looked very interesting. Overall, it was nothing like the other two games, which were legendary action RPGs designed to be played online. Offline single-player mode in those games though? Boring. But this third entry looked like my kind of jam, so I gave it a shot. Not even 10 minutes in and I had no idea what I was doing. Rarely had I seen before such a convoluted, complex system. Nights in the nightmare level of complex. There was a single super long tutorial at base, but it looked and felt like such a big hassle to learn. Years later I brought it to a friend's house, since it has an offline multiplayer mode. We played it, and again, 15 minutes later, we were at a loss of words. To date, I have absolutely no clue how this game works. Look at it! Look! I don't even understand what's going on here. Number 5, Metal Maxino Reborn. I'm a fan of the original game that came out all the way back in 2018. Yeah. 5 years later, they remade it for the same platform, PS4. Well, it also released on Switch and Steam this time around. My point is, why remake a game that didn't even need one in the first place? Way too soon, man. And all for freaking nothing. You see, the original game didn't get the best reviews, but it got some positivity around it. A very obscure hidden gem about an edgy protagonist in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by machines. Guy swears revenge against them, joins a small resistance group, and travels the overworld by foot or by tank with his companions. It's a turn-based RPG where you fight in the tanks with a really complex equipment system, but you can also fight like humans in the ruins or dungeons you explore. The tank equipment system I mentioned ultimately made this game stupidly hard for me after like 15 hours of playtime. Along came the remake and I expected the convoluted characteristics would be fixed. Graphics look different when they didn't really need to because they were awesome in the original. Music changed entirely again, original OST was badass so it didn't really need to. Battles were still turn-based with a real-time twist, in a pretty immersive way, when it didn't really need to. You know what else didn't really need? An obnoxious, surreal, and absolutely preposterous increase in the difficulty. It was now 10 times harder, extremely unbalanced, not even grinding will save you. Screw this remake, man, stick to the original. Number 4. Threats of Fate. I played this action RPG about 18 years ago and I really wanted to like it back then. I don't know, it had two playable protagonists, cool graphics for its time, interesting ideas. Yeah, it looked fun. Also, it was developed by Squaresoft and back then I never thought you could go wrong with them. About 15 minutes in, I had become a fan of Mint, the spoiled little brat with red hair. I also noticed that her route was different from the guy, so I thought that will add a lot of replay value. About 30 minutes later though, I should have turned the game off because the controls were clunky, the exploration was fine, but the combat wasn't great. Platforming also made things more painful than enjoyable. It felt generic in a lot of other areas, repetitive, getting lost easily, annoying puzzles, but oh no, I wasn't gonna quit that easily. So I kept going, beat the first boss, got into the following areas, and I gave up. I think I started a different playthrough with the guy, but gave up easily. Many years will pass, I became Erick Landon RPG on YouTube, and I streamed the game in hopes of giving it a second chance. Yes, as you can see, I really wanted to like this action RPG. Too bad my livestream only served to show the fans how utterly annoying and unenjoyable this game truly was. Threats of Fate isn't bad, it just isn't good either. Number 3. The Last Remnant. I haven't complained about this messy, disarray, jumbled piece of idiocy in a long time. For some reason I got hyped with the trailers back then. I had seen some gameplay footage and it looked awesome! Couldn't wait to try out that combat system, appreciate its strategic presentation and enjoy a mature political story about war. Yeah! What I got instead was a convoluted, highly unbalanced quandary. Amazing graphics, sure, but with technical problems. Killer soundtrack, sure, but only in battle. A lame, completely forgettable protagonist. I swear the main characters should have been David and Irina and the other generals. And finally, a horrible battle system disaster. You can't directly control your allies, only groups of them, and they often do whatever they want and screw it all up quite often. If you've ever crapped on the original Persona 3 for this, you haven't played The Last Remnant. You can't grind because the enemy levels up with you, so trying to overpower that stupid difficulty spike is a waste of your precious time. The game's just full of nasty penalties and a weird morale bar that revolves around how you approach the enemy or how they approached you. I think its ideas were interesting but poorly executed. I wanted to like this game so bad though that I made it to the very end of Disc 1 on the 360, but never, hard as I tried, defeated the boss battles there. So I gave up. I know this game is available on Switch and PS4 remastered nowadays, but nothing will ever make me buy it to see if anything changed. Number 2. Fire Emblem Engage. Meet the perfect example of a good video game completely annihilated by its story and characters. It's rare to see one of those, to be honest. I've played, enjoyed, and recommended several JRPGs with poor writing, but because the gameplay was awesome. Well, it sure wasn't awesome in Fire Emblem Engage, but it was alright. Classic grid-based system with multiple characters under your command, now with the rings that can summon a hero from the previous titles to help you in battle, yeah. But the story and characters were so cringy, so poorly, extremely poorly written, that it ruined any desire I have to keep going. 7 or 8 hours into it and I just couldn't go on. I should have quit after streaming the first 2 hours live several months ago, but since I'm a die-hard Fire Emblem fan, I really wanted to like it. I tried, guys, I really did. But I'm sick of the atrocious stupidity of the writers and the developers allowing them a wage. They're called intelligent systems, and nowadays that's just far from the truth. They should be called stupid systems. Everything feels forced, faked, pathetic. The dialogue is far worse than in any hyperdimension Neptunia game. It's a cringe fest. As I said in my Fire Emblem ranking video, this game is an insult to the Fire Emblem name. Number 1. The Monster Hunter series. Many of you probably wonder why I don't like this franchise. It's pretty simple, really. If you've been watching my videos for a long time, you should know by now that I'm not really into quest-driven RPGs, unless they got other things that appeal to me. This series just doesn't. And I'm also not a fan of mindless open-world games. And I say mindless because they just don't have a well-written narrative, you know? These games are 90% gameplay, 10% story, so nothing pulls me into the extremely repetitive nature of going out into an overworld to hunt down big dinosaurs, much less with a generic, ugly-looking character that looks more from your everyday Western RPG than anything. I first played 3 on the Wii, excitedly, my first time playing the legendary Monster Hunter series, but after a couple of hours I lost interest. Years later I got Freedom on the PSP, which is an enhanced port of the original PS2 release. Same deal, I got bored. I'll be honest, I felt like I was playing the exact same game as 3. And finally, the last nail in the coffin for me was 4 on the 3DS. It was better than I expected, I'll admit, but a few hours into it and I just abandoned it. I think this series is best appreciated and enjoyed in multiplayer. Hunting down the big guys with strangers or with your friends makes you feel like you're playing an MMORPG, so it's more fun and engaging, I guess. But I have no friends to play any of these games with, and I don't like playing online anymore, so yeah, I know, it's my loss. There's nothing wrong with this series, most of them aren't bad, they're just not for me. Honorable mention, can't think of a better one than Vagrant Story, that's right, I also really wanted to like that game but couldn't. More in this video about JRPGs that failed my expectations. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!